What's up? Welcome back to the Beyond the Coach podcast. I am one of your hosts, Kelsey Nanini.
And I'm Chris Sweet.
And how are you,
Hi.
Chris?
I was going to say
Ow.
happy hump day.
Happy hump
It's
day.
just, you want to know a funny story that I was going to kick off the podcast with was I went to the gym this morning, and something about my gym is that it's like it's just a key fob. So you can let yourself in 24 hours, whatever, and that unlocks the door. There's two locations. One of them I have been to before anybody else has like in there and opened up like the gym for the day. The other location I have not. I had not done that until today. So you have to turn on all the lights, and I could not for the life of me find the second set of lights. So it's like a huge warehouse, and I found one set of lights that lit up the first half of the gym, but could not find the other set of lights that lit up like the back half of the gym.
Perfect.
Where I specifically need to be for my workout. I was like, everything that I need is in the dark side. And then I start spiraling where I just think every building in Massachusetts is haunted. And
That's fair.
when you're in these dark gyms by yourself, I am putting myself in every worst case scenario as I'm trying to find these light switches. I am like, what if someone's in here? What if I'm going to get kidnapped? What if someone followed me in? What if like a ghost finds me and all of a sudden I see a figure? Like I am full on spiraling, and maybe this is anxiety that I have induced onto myself because I listen to probably way too much true crime. And
You're
like,
aware, though. You're problem aware. Like, that's what I always tell myself. I'm like, if
yeah,
you're ever in a
scenario.
situation, I have the worst case scenario in my mind, and I can conquer. That's what I always tell myself.
Exactly. It's even fun facts like allegedly you are less likely to get human trafficked if you have tattoos because you're too identifiable. So I just always tell people like no one's going to get me. Like I am the least likely suspect in most scenarios because I'm just too identifiable. And also I just feel like they'd return me anyways. They'd be like, she's not worth it. Like, it's fine.
You're like, I'm 30, so
yeah,
like,
it's just
I'm just hoping it doesn't happen in the next month and a half. Like, not that I
exactly.
want that.
You're like,
too
I'm
old.
out of, I'm aged out. I just I was just really spiraling trying to find these light switches is essentially the point I'm trying to make. And eventually I found them. They are, however, on the complete opposite wall where it is complete darkness practically. So I have my flashlight on my iPhone. I like had already put down my bag. And then I had my energy drink in the other hand thinking it was like could be a weapon like someone was there. I was like my Alani knew I'll just like squirt it in their eyes and I'm sure like that'll burn or something if someone does try to get me.
Probably, honestly, that thing's
Don't know how that would help me against a ghost because I was mainly concerned about the ghost part and like being haunted more than I was actually that someone would kidnap me today. But it was just a full spiral. So, that's how my Wednesday began. And then I got in a leg day, which was fine.
Also spooky.
Spooky, definitely during this era of a sprained ankle, but we're making it by. How are you doing?
I'm thriving. Just great.
Nice.
Didn't have any run-ins with ghosts. We don't have that concern really here in Arizona.
Thank God.
No. Well, I mean, actually, there is a haunted town called Jerome, and allegedly, they. I don't know that this is true. I've always wanted to go to the town, but there's actually two that are haunted. I can't remember the name of the other one. Oh, Bigsby, Bisbee, something like that. Anyways, in Jerome, it's said that they've crushed up skeleton bones, and that's their pavement.
I
Haven't
could
been.
see where that could cause some hauntings and some
And like the old buildings that were like the
trapped
Wild West.
souls.
They're not as old as like probably the 1600s, like in Massachusetts, but 1800 ghosts could still be scary. So
Yeah, no. I love my gym. I love the ability to just go when I want and like more times than not no one's there because my gym is more of like a group class. Like they run these like group classes and then any other time there's no group class, like you can just go in and like they could also charge way more for a membership, but I pay like $40 a month to get access to two locations, which is amazing. And in Massachusetts, it's unheard of. So, I'll pay $40 if it means that I have to tackle some ghosts a little bit for at least the next 5 months. I can figure it out. I may just need to make friends with the ghost because I think one of the locations is for sure haunted. The other location could have potential to not be haunted, but one of them is definitely haunted. It's too creepy in the dark to not be haunted. It's like a basement and you have to go down the stairs to turn on the light. really sets a mood for your workout, if I'm being honest.
Just really get
Like
the
the
blood
heart rate
flowing,
is
the
already
endorphins
up.
pumping.
You
Yeah,
don't even have to warm up. Like your heart rate is like already there. It's like ready to go. Your body's already in like this fight or flight mode. It's a whole thing. But yeah, so that's my story time of the day. Other than that, nothing else is going on in my life, which is fantastic in this season.
for
So we're
sure.
just gonna keep that up. How is your meniscus feeling? How's your knee?
Good. I actually start with my physical therapist today.
Exciting.
So it'll be my first day because I went golfing yesterday. So first day lifting this week. I haven't lifted in 4 days. Which is fine. I actually just knew when my knee was, I kind of got a little bit, iffy
Ag-
last week.
Yeah.
And so luckily I just know how to listen to my body and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna take some time off. 4 days, which is fine, and it's feeling a lot better now. It didn't hurt golfing. So I'm excited to start back up with her. I like actually missed her workouts. I was laughing because I'm like, when I first had my first call with her, I was like, you are the last person I wanted to meet with again. But I like love working with her. So yeah, it'll be good to just get back, and it's only for 3 months, hopefully. So we'll just be able to like kind of manage pain, manage symptoms, and then hopefully be good to go. So
Nice. I know
yeah.
it's like weird when you part ways with certain professionals and you're like my knee doctor, or really it was my back, the specialist that I saw for like my pain, when I was finally like feeling good, she was like, okay, like, I hope I never see you again, but at least you know where to go if you need someone. And I said, that sounds fantastic. And the same goes for physical therapists and any other specialists, surgeons. You're like, I hope I never see you again in my
No one
life.
can ever pay you again. I already met
Mm-mm.
my deductible one time.
Correct. Exactly. But we can roll into the topic then. And
Yeah.
I'm so excited to talk about this because I could just go off for so long. I mean, that's the trend of the podcast, really. We could probably just go on and on and on about
Yes.
multiple topics at this point. We're a good like coach yap session. And I hope that anyone listening can just agree with that while we may go in a million directions, it's all spitting the facts. And so today we're going to talk about comparison because this is something that happens all too often, whether it's in the setting of social media, whether it's in the setting of being an in-person trainer, whether it's in the setting of being an online coach and just starting to get clients, or being in even like a mentorship retainer where you're with other entrepreneurs. There are just so many different places where I feel like comparison comes up, and comparison is what stops a lot of really, really, really good coaches from actually doing their thing and growing their business and making an impact on clients. I know for me, comparison has gotten me plenty of times, and it's not a perfect linear progression by any
Mhm.
means. And I don't think you're ever going to go through a period of your time where you're like completely healed and no comparison happens and you don't go on social media and you're like, gosh, that looks really cool, or I wish I was doing that. But I think you start to normalize it and become so neutral to it where it doesn't create paralysis towards your business or your clients or your education or what you're doing. So why don't you kick it on a little bit, Kelsey, on your thoughts on comparison and what you've seen with coaches?
Yeah, I definitely think, like you said, it's what holds coaches back. I know in our cohort this past round, which just finished on Monday.
So sad.
Well, if you're listening to this, it actually finished 2 weeks ago, but it did finish, and it was really cool to see the progressions of like the growth starting to now after 12 weeks. But it was something that came up a lot. We had a few coaches who were definitely newer, like under a year in the space, and just comparing themselves and kind of down in the dumps of like, I just feel like I'm not like doing as well as so and so, or I'm just not doing X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be. And I think the biggest thing to remember is like, it's not that it has to be like earned, but it's like you just haven't been doing it long enough. It's something that you're just going to have to get used to. And like, you can't compare yourself to, for instance, Chris and I that have been doing it since 2020 and before. Like, I've been coaching since 2017 in some capacity, and th- I was a beginner at once too. And I think that's something that I've always held on to. Okay, sorry. Well, my dog Burrow wanted to get into the room with me and podcast today. So that was, if you heard that scratching in the background, it was not someone I'm holding hostage. It was my dog. But I used to like everyone. I think that's what I was gonna say was everyone at some point was exactly where you are in starting. And so I think that's something that I've always told myself if I do start to play the comparison game is like, okay, we all started somewhere, especially like if I'm in the beginning of my journey. And I can't compare my step 1 to someone else's step 20, right? I
Mhm.
think there's a saying, but I don't exactly I like totally butchered that. Um,
Yeah, I think it's just saying like don't
yeah,
compare your day one to someone's day
your day
like
1.
2000 or and
Mhm.
that's what I tell my fitness clients even, the fitness clients who come in and they're getting really stuck. Like I have a couple clients who are like, gosh, the girl next to me was lifting, 100 pounds more than me. And I was having a really hard time with comparison because there I am, maybe lifting 95 pounds or deadlifting 95, and the girl next to me is deadlifting 250. And I always like to say, well, you can't compare your day one, and you also can't compare the season that you're in to somebody else's season. Like you could be
Yeah.
going through injury, you could be going through grief, you could be going through so many different things that do impact the amount of weight that you lift, the amount of productivity you get done, the amount of tasks you're able to have the capacity for. And the person next to you could be dealing with none of that. And you don't know because every single person has a story and you just don't know their background. You don't know what got them to the point that they're at.
Yeah, and I think it's not even just that person to that point, especially in like your performance. It's something that I've been dealing with recently, and it's not about other people, it's about myself. It's like, oh my gosh, like, in this past 3 years since I had surgery for the second time, it's like, I've gone through really struggling with like my capabilities to then being the most confident I've ever been in fitness, training for a half marathon and lifting at the same time to then boom, like all of a sudden I get injured again. And now it's like, wow, I was, supposed to be in 2 weeks running a half marathon, but instead I'm starting back from it feels like square one, even though it's not. And so comparison can come in many different forms. And I think for me, because I've done a lot of deep work in the past, you know, 3 years, I would say, to work on not comparing myself to others. Now I compare myself to myself. And I think like it's so important to remember the stage of life you're in. And I put a story or I put a post up on Monday that was just like, hey, if you're going through something where you're just feeling like you're down in the dumps, you're questioning everything, you're like just beating yourself up for not being where you want to be, you have to remember to just do what you can. Like what is something you can do right now and when you're going through that and not comparing yourself to whatever it may be. Which I think is just an important aspect too when you're going through that.
Yeah, and with coaches, we've talked about this. Like you put yourself on the internet, you put your body on the internet, your face, your life, all of these things, and when you've gone through so many setbacks potentially in your own health journey or your injury journey or your life, like whatever's kind of gone on, it's so easy to compare yourself to the past version and to make you feel like you are suddenly less qualified because you're just not up to the same standard that you once were. Like the standard has kind of shifted a little bit, but that experience that I think someone has, they forget that that still builds to your reputability. Like that still builds to the experience you get to now help your clients through. And I can so relate because 2022, I was lifting, I think my PR was like a 330 deadlift. Like it was pretty heavy. And I was ready to like go into powerlifting. That was the whole plan. I was at the best physique, the best performance I had ever been. And then I got my back injury. And it's so easy for me to even like the toxic habit of scrolling back on Instagram and like going
Yeah.
back to that time frame and looking and saying, where did we go wrong? Like if you compare
Mhm.
2022 to now, it's so easy for me to look at this gap and be like, where did I fuck up? Like where
Yeah.
did things take a left turn and not go the direction that I wanted to? And it's easy to let that spiral. And I share this story because I know that there's probably so many coaches that have gone through this themselves. If they have gained weight, lost strength, gone through injury, again, had a huge life change happen that just kind of impacted them so significantly. And that comparison or that gap right there doesn't take away from the fact that you were there once upon a time. You were there. And like that is something you can be proud of, but you have to be more present with the current version of yourself especially if you ever want to get to that point. And you don't have to say like, oh, I just want to get to this past version, but maybe the version coming is like even better than before, maybe
Mhm.
more aligned than before, and maybe it gives you a little bit more freedom. So it's so easy to get stuck for sure in the comparison of where other people are, but then equally in the comparison of where you once were to now, and kind of getting down on yourself of like, where's the gap? Where did I kind of fuck up? What could I have done better? And it's like, I actually saw something yesterday. It was some sort of, maybe it was a TikTok or something, talking just about how, we're always thinking of the past or the future, and we're never really thinking of the now. And it just put into perspective what I want every coach to really focus on is like the now, because so too often we're thinking of the what ifs of the future, and like, the get down on myself of the past, and what could I have done better in XYZ. There's no fixing the past. The past is the past and it happened, and there's no predicting the future. But what could get you to the goals that you have in the future is the very thing you need to focus on now. But comparison and imposter syndrome are the two things that typically stop coaches from doing that. And I just don't think it's talked about enough, even though I think every coach has at least alluded to it. It's just not very spoken with transparency. And new coaches, especially, don't realize that you and me, like you said, we're sitting here talking about this stuff because we've been there, because
Yeah.
we had day ones, and we had, year ones and year twos and threes, and we had our first client cancellation, and we had our first client ghost, and we experienced all this stuff
Yeah.
to be able to confidently more so handle it. But that's not to say that like that wasn't hard in the moment, or that we can just deal with it to deal with it. And sometimes I think that with the cohort, right, when we're giving answers, I don't want it to ever feel like the answers we're giving are just so straightforward and almost like, oh, well, duh, this is how you respond. It's, hey, I've coached over 500 women at this point, and I've seen everything, and here's the best way to solve it. And this now goes into then where I think coaches get stuck as well, is comparing themselves in the industry that they exist in, because there are so many online coaches now. I mean, in comparison to 2020 to now, it's completely blown up. And I think that's amazing. I think it's amazing that you have so many people who want to make an impact, so many people who want to help others in their journey and in their health. And everyone has different passions. Some people love the strength aspect and the nutrition aspect and the hormone aspect. There's truly a coach for anything nowadays, which is incredible to think of the arsenal of resources that our society has. However, when there are so many coaches, and you then get put into, for example, a business retainer, we are in one ourselves, it's easy to get sucked into that of, oh, well, this coach is doing this, so now I should do that, or this coach is charging this rate, or this coach is doing more or doing the same as me, but charging a little bit more or a little bit less. And like, where should I go? And da 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 da. Squirrel brain happens. And then all of a sudden, you're not selling anybody because you're too busy thinking, should I change my rate every other month versus let me just go do my DMs. Let me just go do my thing. Let me just go make my content. Let me go coach my clients. And that is where I like really, really, really want to like sit in a room with all these coaches who are dealing with this and just be like, hello, there is always going to be another coach who is over delivering, undercharging, XYZ. You're always going to have judgment sometimes on other people's programs. And while, yes, you want to be able to scream from the rooftops, my program's better, I do this, I charge this, da 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 da, it's not going to change anything. Like, it's genuinely not. And that's not something we can do right now. But what you can do is preach your services and your value and not get stuck kind of listening to everyone else's value and not talking about your own.
Yeah. I remember there was the first business container I was in when I got moved up to like the higher level. It was like the first, I didn't even know business coaching was really a thing back then. And then I got moved up to this higher level, and all of a sudden I was on calls with people who were doing so much per month. And I was like, what am I doing here? And like, that was the wins though. Like on every call, it was never a win of like what my client is doing and the success I'm seeing in my client journey, or I finally created a funnel. Like, I don't even think funnels were a thing back then. Like, that was not talked about, but it was always financial. And I remember just constantly comparing myself to them. And I'm like, well, why am I not there yet? And I'm like, well, shit, I just started the business coaching like 3 months ago. Like, I jumped up to the higher level within like 3 months, and like, that's great. But then I always found myself comparing myself to everyone else and what they were doing when they'd been in the container for years. a
Yep.
year plus. So, um, I think really when you do find yourself playing that comparison game, it's so important. One, if it's on social media, the mute feature is the best feature ever. If you find yourself comparing someone and it's like, even if it's someone you like,
Mhm.
even if it's a close friend of yours, Instagram's weird enough at this point where the algorithm maybe won't even show you some of their stuff. So like no one knows if you mute them. Like nobody
Literally.
knows. Um there's a lot of people I have muted because it's like I can't really unfollow them. So I have to mute them because it's for my own good. Like I am not somebody who typically compares myself to others, but when I do find myself doing that, I realize that's just a toxic correlation that I have to butt out for, even if it's a temporary amount of time. You can unfollow influencers that make you question yourself. Like Instagram has truly like honestly fucked up our brains enough that it's just like you're constantly playing a comparison game if you're on social media a lot. Whether you try to not do it like or not, it's always going to be there. And so even in like a business coaching container, if you know like, oh, the first 10 minutes they focus on wins, like I just am not going to go to that part if that's something that you have to do to save your sanity. Or if you're in a toxic business coaching container and you need to get out. Like I just think there's so many other opportunities. Like with WWA, I've never once compared myself to another coaching program because I find that everyone is super supportive and it's not just about finances at this point. And everyone is so willing to help each other out and bounce ideas off each other. And it's just like when you get a bunch of women in the same area, in the same arena, in the same container, it can be freaking catty at times, and it's not like that, which is awesome. Like it's just so supportive, and I think that's really goes to say like when you're starting to compare yourself or when you're starting to find that it's like maybe your environment isn't where you need it to be.
Absolutely. And I think flipping the script on that too, right? If you're in a container or if you're having conversations with people and even like your own friends who are, maybe you set up a weekly call with your business friends who are also, coaches. And let's say like you're getting on this call and you're chit-chatting, you're like, how's business? Da 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 da. And every time you ask how business is, they immediately go to like, well, I just sold like this deal and I just hit this big month. Why don't you get on the call and just kickstart it with saying like, oh my gosh, I have to tell you, my client that I have, she was super resistant to this, and this, and now she's doing it. Like that can be a win, Oh my gosh, I just helped my client lose those 20 pounds that she's been wanting to lose for forever. Or, hey, I have a screenshot of this amazing DM that came my way of someone in my community literally thanking me for posting XYZ. And like showing that impact is not just related to metrics of numbers, but
Yeah,
also metrics of just community and like impact and helping your
changing
clients see
lives.
results. And also like in a society where I don't know all the stats now of 2025 as far as like obesity rates go, but like in a society where obesity is so difficult and something that we face and something that from a healthcare system perspective is not really focused on enough or taught enough in the school system, you just help someone against that metric. Did you look it up?
Yeah, I'm
Oh
like the
God.
like back end people of a hey, when you pull up that video for me, it says in 20, well, I don't know when this is from. But in 2025, it's estimated that nearly 3 in 4 US adults will be overweight or obese.
Hmm.
Given I know a lot of that is based on BMR, or BMI, but still, 260
That's
million Americans have overweight or obesity, including 43.1 million children and adolescents and 213 million adults.
that pained me to hear all of that.
Like 58% of adult women and 55% of adult men with obesity. Like you were to your point, like in coaching, it's not just about your income and about like your next sale. It's like these are people's lives. Like you are literally changing lives. And like that's hopefully why you got into coaching.
Yep.
Um, but that's actually like
That's actually
disturbing.
really disturbing. Yeah. And that's exactly it. Like flip the script, change the narrative when it comes to that comparison. And Exactly, to Kelsey's point, I have plenty of people muted, like, and I rotate it. Like, sometimes it'll be one of my really good friends in the industry that I support fully. And it's not that you don't support them, it's that, hey, I need a little bit of a break from this mentally so that I can recharge and also so that I can support you in a better capacity. Like, this isn't even that they need to know it. You don't have to go tell your friend, hey, I muted you, by the way. Like, hey, I'm doing this. There is nothing that that friend is doing wrong. Like, that is one thing to keep in mind is you can't just control your people from being like posting their wins and posting
Yeah.
their stuff in their life, but you can control the filter in which you are exposed to that because social media is crazy. I mean, we are not meant to have this type of exposure to everybody's life and
All the time.
everybody's like all these things all the time. Like we were just not born like going
Yeah.
back to the Stone Age. Like that was not how we were meant to live. Like it is very, very, very difficult and things just get fed to you as well. Especially if you watch their stuff and you're like watching it in its entirety because you are spiraling when you're watching it, it is going to show up more on your algorithm. Like you're just going to put yourself in that. So you're better to mute
Hmm.
it and then unmute when you feel like you're in a better place and work through that too. And this then goes into like coaches education and where they feel a lot of that comparison. Oh, this coach is doing this and this and this and they added this to their program and this to their program. You just need to be okay with your program being enough. Like
Yeah.
before you start to add more and more and more because I'm telling you guys, sometimes the more you add in a very quick cadence, while yes, in a coach's perspective as the business owner, you're like, this is going to be revolutionary and life changing. Oh my gosh, like everyone's going to like freak out over it. And then all of a sudden you're posting about it and it's not selling as quickly as you want because you're too busy trying to replicate somebody else's program or somebody else's offer without actually like working on your own first and like getting feedback on the existing program that's there. So no, don't charge less all because that other trainer is charging less and maybe providing more. I know for a fact that there are plenty of coaches charging less than Kelsey and I charge for coaching. Our prices reflect our value, reflect our education, reflect all the services that we give within like our Apex Coach Accelerator program and even our lifestyle program. We're not reducing our prices all because we know that there's other coaches out there charging less. If somebody is coming to me or coming to us to work with us, it's because they want to work with us. It's because they want to be in this program and they believe in the value of the program, the education that we give. It's not there. I'm done with the window shopping people. Like I just don't like I'm like, sure, you can go window shop. You will find someone cheaper. Like
Yeah.
go for it.
Yep.
But what are you looking for at the end of the day? What do you need to succeed? So while yes, another coach is out there maybe charging less, doing more, one, is the quality of their service actually good quality? Two, that person now probably needs to work with double the amount of clients to actually achieve their own income goals. So they're probably working with, 60 clients, whereas for you, maybe you charge an appropriate rate where you're like, my capacity is 30 clients because I really care about like the coach client relationship I build with my clients.
Yep.
Every perspective is a little bit different and you can't obsess over that because that will just cause that spiral every single time and it'll then lead to true paralysis where you're not making a single benefit to your program or a single change or a single piece of content or again sending the DMs because you're too busy comparing yourself to everyone else's action taking. And guess what? They're just doing the thing. Like they're doing the very things that you're likely avoiding because you are stuck in comparison. And this is just like the whole premise of the message is get yourself out of comparison. Get yourself like out of the gutter because when you are in that gutter, you go nowhere. You don't grow, you don't expand, you don't feel great. You're just keeping yourself there more than not. And there are definitely ways to navigate that when it comes to comparison, like Kelsey said, of muting people, filtering what you're seeing, setting goals for yourself, right? If there's another coach who's like, getting their pre and postnatal certification, you can set a goal for yourself, put it on your vision board to like go get your pre and postnatal certification. Maybe not right away. Maybe like you are in the depths right now where you're like, I'm already doing another certification. I'm already in this mentorship. I'm already taking care of clients. Be realistic for where you are setting these goals and these targets. It's not to say you can't strive for the very things that someone else does have, but it's don't let what someone else already has stop you from working towards the goals that you currently want to embody and want to push towards.
Yeah, and I think it also boils down to like, yes, muting people, getting like all those things are great. I also think at some point it's partially a band-aid, but it's positive for sure. I think it really boils down to you needing to do the deep work on yourself to recognize why you feel like you're comparing yourself to those people, why you feel like you're constantly comparing and constantly in that headspace. it oftentimes comes down to just like lack of confidence on your part, which we've all dealt with. We've all been there for sure, 100%. I can guarantee you the most confident person that you see has at some point not been confident. And it is a lot of deep work on your part. And I think that's what I had to do. When I was like, it was like 2014 when my college coach had told me that I needed to lose weight. I like was really confident up until that point. I was always just like kind of just like whatever, like I'm here, like everything's great, like never questioned myself up until that point, and it started to spiral until like 2018 of me just being like not good enough. And so having to do that deep work to now I really just don't give like I'm pretty comfortable in myself to just be like I don't really give a fuck. But how to do that work. And so I think for you, if you're listening and you feel like you're constantly comparing no matter what, it's just to everyone and you're constantly spiraling. First off, I think therapy actually can be a really great outlet for you because you can talk through those things. And
I love therapy.
yeah, I think it's just finding a way, like investing in yourself to do that. And I think also from a coaching perspective, and it doesn't have to just be therapy, by the way, like obviously a very great outlet, but also like journaling about it, doing deep, like actually like digging deep into yourself to figure out like where that stems from. And obviously therapy can help figure that out for you, can like kind of help guide you towards that, but doing that can help. But as a coach, if you find that you're having imposter syndrome, because I find imposter syndrome is basically just comparison, it's working on yourself. And when you start to work on yourself, and I know this is so like cliche, but like when you start to work on yourself, it truly makes it so much easier for you to help others. When you are walking the walk, you have the better ability to talk the talk, because you probably have imposter syndrome because you know you're not doing something, like there's something missing in your journey. And so that's why Chris and I both have coaches. Like I think I talked about it on the last podcast where I was like, I literally went like 2 weeks without a coach, and I was like, shit, I need somebody to like at least program for me. Like I need someone here. And that just like can help so much of the confidence, because you're constantly learning new like strategies. You're constantly being built more confident because you have somebody guiding you through it, and also helping when you don't feel so confident. But I really think imposter syndrome does come down to just doing the things. Like you just have to like be embodied in what you do, and also live the life that you are teaching your clients to live. And when you're not doing that, that's when it's easy to compare to other coaches who seemingly are doing it, and then having an imposter syndrome of like, I'm not good enough to be doing this. It's probably because you aren't also doing the things you're coaching your clients to do.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just like you said, I think you can live in a bubble of avoidance. And something that I've really had to get better about is if I'm feeling something, like I love that you brought up journaling, it's putting that somewhere, because you can sit in comparison and you can sit in imposter syndrome and you can tell yourself, I'm not a good enough coach. My program isn't good enough. Maybe I should drop my prices. Maybe da 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 da. It is in your head. It is like absorbed in your head. And that is just the forefront of your thoughts at that point. Speaking it out loud or putting it on paper, sometimes writing it out, like truly writing your thoughts. If you were like, I am a dumb coach, I don't know what I'm doing, I feel this way, why would anyone follow me on social media? Literally go write all of that down on a piece of paper and read it back to yourself. And you will probably giggle a little bit at like the thoughts that you are having. And then what I typically recommend is like, if you're dealing with comparison, write down those thoughts or say those thoughts, and then put a counter thought, right? Like, oh, I'm a dumb coach. Do you have a certification? Go write, but I have a certification and that helps me become more confident. Like go put a continuation of the thought. Don't let the thought just stop at, I'm a dumb coach, or no one wants to work with me, right? Does no one really want to work with you? Or do you currently have 10 clients that want to work with you or are working with you? You let the negative stop from the positive that you have already been living in. And there is likely something you are doing right now that a past version of yourself would be so freaking proud of yourself for, like so proud. And I love that you brought up your experience in your first mentorship, because I had such a similar experience. When I first started coaching, I told Kenneth, and I think I've told this story before, where I just said, if I can just get 10 clients paying $300 a month, I'll be happy. Like that was my statement. I remember so vividly, we were sitting in our 1-bedroom apartment in Florida. And I just said it. That's what I wanted. My desk was like in our living room. I was taking calls with just like Kenneth in the background. It was such a chaotic time now that I think about it, but bless all the people who worked with me during then. And I just remember saying that. And then I hired my first business mentor, and I always felt like the little minnow in like the Sharkville. I was just this little baby fish and could not understand. There was someone else in the retainer who had set the goal that they were going to make $1 million that year. And every single call we went to, he would update on his like $1 million goal. And I remember saying to myself, who the hell am I to be sitting in this like call right now? Who the hell am I to be even in the presence of these coaches with these like huge goals, these huge financial goals? Meanwhile, I'm just trying to make $300 for 10 clients and I'll be happy. And then you almost hit that milestone, right? There came a point where I hit that. And you don't give yourself the acknowledgement of, oh my gosh, I just hit something that like I told myself when I hit this, I'm going to be happy. What do you do instead? Instead, you're like, oh, I got 10. Well, now I need 5 more. Now I need 10 more. Now I need this and this and this and this. You need to stop and just like give yourself a moment to be like, holy shit, I'm living a reality that I once fought for, that I once dreamt of, that I once journaled about. I was thinking today about how I just have like a pretty stacked schedule. I have multiple calls today. I have modules to make for Beyond the Cert. And I just remember having moments in my business where I sat and thought, what do I even do with my time? I don't know what to do. Like maybe I'll go work on this project and this project. And I just thought, how cool is it that I have a schedule that is just structured today? How cool is it that I get to hop on these calls? How cool is it that I get to make these modules for a certification that I once dreamt of being a part of and having?
Yeah.
And you have to just stop when you're in that comparison sometimes or in that imposter syndrome and just show yourself the reality, which is where that journal comes into play, right? Maybe you think I'm not a successful coach, but meanwhile, 2 months ago, you just hit your biggest month. Write that down in a journal and then read the positive as well. Like, it's impossible to sometimes get rid of the negative thoughts, but I do think that there is power in just countering those thoughts and like creating just a level of neutrality. People always think it's like it either has to be good or it either has to be bad. You could just be neutral. You could just be neutral towards yourself, neutral towards other people, neutral towards your financial goals, neutral towards whatever is kind of triggering you even right now. You just have to work towards it. It's not an overnight win, an overnight sensation that is now created. It is something that has to be built over like years sometimes. And I've been in therapy for a long time and I am still working through things that just take time to work through. But eventually the things that felt really hard suddenly get a little easier. And the things that triggered you and like that you compared yourself to, suddenly they don't trigger you anymore. And suddenly you don't compare yourself anymore. And that is growth. And that's where you need to like really give yourself credit in the process of what you are building. And again, not to let the comparison, because I could have been sitting on that mentorship call with this guy with $1 million goal being like, gosh, that's a big goal. Like, okay, I guess I need to hit $1 million and maybe I need to change up my business and do exactly what he's doing to try to build my business. Just like weight loss, if I were to give 2 different clients the same set of macros, the same game plan for fat loss, there's going to be 2 different outcomes because they're just 2 different people. The same goes for your business. You could be trying to chase this person who has this $1 million goal and replicate their exact business strategy, and you're probably going to have a different outcome than they are having. They are probably going to hit $1 million and you may barely be skimming 10K. Like there's going to be a little bit of a difference there. Whereas when you can just focus on yourself and let other people have their wins and focus on like the next step in front of you that's most logical, not the next step in front of you that is the most emotionally driven, then you're going to succeed. You can't let emotional drivers be what changes everything in your business and everything in your health journey, all because someone else is doing something. Like we just can't. We can't do that. We can't let our goals change or our minds change as quickly as we flip through TikTok. That's not allowed.
Really. Yeah, I love that point too. It's like when I changed that mindset of comparing myself to people's success to then celebrating their success, like everything changed for me. And kind of, it was funny you said like journaling about the past, like that experience in the other day, it was actually on Mother's Day, Facebook memory came up when I released my very first online program in 2018. I like dabbled in trying to create like online programs that like 2 people bought that were on my college volleyball team. So like, thank you, shout out for supporting me. But I like
we've all been there.
Yeah, like, hired my college roommate to like make the graphics for like the whole guide for me. This is before Canva. Like this is it probably wasn't before Canva. I just didn't know about Canva. And so like I hired her to make it super pretty. I think I paid her like $300. I probably made like $60 off the program, but I like posted about it on Facebook and I was like, hey, there's like a Facebook community you can join for an extra cost. If you want one-on-one support, there's an extra cost. I don't think anyone did any of this. Like I just look back on it and like really beat myself up because I'm like, man, if I would have just tried to stick to the online coaching thing in 2018, like I just gave up. And so now like me today is like, I've been through a lot of shit the past 5 years of trying to, build an online business and sticking to it. And it's been far from easy, but I didn't give up like I did in 2018, and haven't given up. So even though I have obviously like restructured a few times, there's never been like any giving up. And I starting from like Kelsey Fit back in like 2020. Ew, like that's so cringy. But like it's just been cool to see that journey. And so even if you're just starting out, like I hope you take these stories that we have been through and remember like we've been through it too. Like the Earn Fit guide is what I called it. Was
I think I
horrendous.
had oh my God, what was it called? It was like bands and booty challenge, like a 4 week. It was like listen, if you guys really want, like, if I ever gave someone the login to my Canva and you guys went to like literally the first
Wait.
things I created in there,
You just
you're
do that
gonna find
order?
this like bands and booty guide or burn and booty guide. I've bands and burn, something like that. And it was literally a 4 week at home band only workout.
Yeah, well, the booty is
And
band only.
I was like, you're gonna build your booty this way, and all, like I was posting the most ridiculous stuff, and that just goes to show too, like you're gonna laugh at yourself in certain moments, like the same way you can look back, right? I can look back at 2022 and fall into comparison of like, oh my God, like why am I not there? Where did I go wrong? But if I go farther back to like 2019, 2020, Chris, I'm just gonna laugh at her. I'm not, and I'm gonna compare myself in a really good way of like, holy shit, have we grown? Like we're no longer selling like a band and booty guide and these like half-assed challenges. I do agree. Like I think if you stick to the kind of the cringy things in the beginning, like it could have been something really big and even bigger than we gave ourselves credit for.
Yeah.
But you definitely can go back and compare yourself in actually like a positive, funny, haha way where you're like, oh, we used to do wine bottle workouts in our living room during COVID. I used to literally, actually, it was so funny. I was with one of my friends who has been a client of mine since 2020. And she was like, remember back when you would program my workouts during COVID? And this was also when you couldn't get a single weight anywhere, right? Yeah. Like everywhere was sold out. You couldn't go to Target and get a kettlebell. Like everything was gone.
Amazon
so you really were. Yes, Amazon was out. Everybody was building home gyms. It was like trying to get Taylor Swift Eras Tour tickets. Like Ticketmaster gone wrong was like COVID, literally the Hunger Games of working out and fitness. And my friend was like, remember when like you used to program for me and literally in the notes of the workout, you would say, get as many textbooks as possible and put it in a backpack. And you're like, go, if you can fit 2 backpacks on your back, like, go do that. Put one in the front, one in the back. Get your canned vegetables. Like suddenly weights were literally like what we could find at the grocery store. If you got yourself a big watermelon, we're going to use that watermelon for some overhead presses. Like it was crazy. I could tell so many weird stories from 2020 and coaching people during that time. But again, I look back and I compare and I'm like, wow, we've really grown since that time. And also, if I can work through that, I can work through anything.
Yeah.
I don't, it's hysterical. So yes, the point is, don't let comparison stop you because, dude, I was doing wine bottle workouts 5 years ago in my living room. So just, you never know where you're going to go with things. You have to kind of post the cringy stuff to just get through it. If it feels weird, if it feels icky, sometimes you just have to do it with the ick. Sometimes you have to do it with the cringe. And over time it gets better, but you can't be this like brand that you are comparing yourself to. If this coach has been in the industry for 5 years and you're like, gosh, I really love their content and their branding and all these things, you too have to go through your own growth, your own progression there. So don't let the comparison stop you from creating the very thing and putting yourself, instead of your day one now, now you get to be on day 14 and then day 21 and then day 100 and then day 150. Like you just have to do it to then look back and say, wow, I've been doing this for 3 months now. Like day 120 is so amazing. Like this is really cool that I've created this for myself. And then you can move forward. And now suddenly, guess what? There's going to be people comparing themselves to you now because you are now like setting the standard and being in this industry. And that can be really cool when you've like developed your brand to that point. So don't let it stop you. Don't let it stop you from working with clients. Don't let it stop you from making appropriate changes in your business, but ones that are truly in alignment, and just freaking do the damn thing. Like that's the whole point, is just for us to try it, do it. And, I think it's easy to be like, well, what if I fail? It's like, what if this ends up being the best fucking thing you've ever done in your life?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I think it's really easy for us to get stuck in like, everybody wants immediate gratification. Our clients want immediate gratification. They've done diets that they got really quick results. They want to just lose the weight now. They want to gain the muscle now. They want a huge ass now. It's like, unless you want to go get a BBL, like that's not possible, right? Like it's gonna take time. Like good things take time. And I think with business especially, it takes so much time to truly be profitable in a good place. Like it takes a lot of sacrifice, and it's not as easy as people make it out to be. It's not sunshine and rainbows. Owning a business, also like with coaching, you have to do a lot more business than you do coaching. And I don't think a lot of people know that. So when you're starting to get frustrated, remember that owning a business is not supposed to be easy and all sunshine and rainbows and working on your laptop on the beach. Like that's not what it is. It's actually long hours in your office, like staring at the same four walls all day, technically three because there's one behind me. But like it's not necessarily like the most exciting thing. It's not super sexy, but it is worth it. And I think it's so like playing a little bit of more of a positive comparison. I wanted to look up like ages of a few people that did something like later on in life, because I think it's really easy to compare. If you're in your 20s, you're like, well, why am I not where like I want to be right now? But like the guy who founded McDonald's didn't do it until he was 52 years old. Henry Ford didn't create his first car until 45. Vera Wang didn't do her first dress until age 40. Colonel Sanders started his KFC franchise in his 60s. And the guy who founded IBM was 61. So like it's really easy to look at it and be like, I'm 25. Like how do I not have like a popping off business like this influencer does? And it's like you can't compare yourself. And also to the influencer point, I'm like a smaller account, let's say. Like I have like almost 5,800. Every time I feel like I get close to 5,800 followers, I lose 10. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm like, did I post something to piss someone off? And I really don't care. Like I could let that get to me where I've been at the same follower count for years and years and years and years. I've also substantially changed my content over the past 2 years to a different focus, and that's turned a lot of people away, and that's okay. But it's really easy to get in your own head if you have 1,000 followers, less than 1,000 followers, and like, why can't I just, have more followers like this person who's posting stupid shit on Instagram all day? Like, but you also have to remember, even if you have, let's say you have 300 followers. If you had 300 people in front of you right now, you'd be fucking pumped. If I had 5,800 people in front of me, I would be shitting my pants. Like, it would be crazy, right? And like, I think it's really easy for us to get stuck in like, I only have this or I only have this. And it's like, yeah, but like, if you had that many people are like, I only got 1,000 views on my reel. That's 1,000 eyeballs on your reel. Maybe some people are rewatching it, but like, that's 1,000 people watching your video. That's awesome. Even if it's less than 1,000, like I think it's just all in the perspective as well. So when you start to compare, when you start to get frustrated about certain metrics, it's all in your perspective, and you can choose to be pessimistic. Sometimes I call it realistic if I'm, being realistic, but realism can also be pessimism. And if you choose to be optimistic and see things in a different light, it's like the cliche glass half full or glass half empty, right? Like that's how you're going to live your life if you continue to think in those ways. So I think it's all about shifting your mindset, and it's not going to happen immediately, but if you do the work to start shifting just how you're viewing those things, it can change everything for you.
Yeah. And I'll like finish here with adding to that because I saw Mel Robbins live last week, which was amazing and
Okay.
everything that I needed. And I think everything that everybody needs if you guys really want to just have like honesty and truth pumped into your blood, like you need to go listen to Mel Robbins after this. And she was talking, she showed a graph and it was like the 100-year lifespan of a human. And it was like, if you live to 100, like here's a graph of what it looks like. And she had talked about, I mean, she literally told the story of, you know, in her 20s, her 30s, like she was broke, they were in debt, they were like potentially losing the house, her husband was laid off, like all these things that had been going wrong, right? And she was just like continuously kind of in the dumps, like sleeping in, not doing things, like not having the effort, putting in the effort. It wasn't until nearly halfway through her life now that she has like grown to the success that she has and now has a book that's like one of the top bestsellers, right? And now she's doing this tour and she's talking in front of, you know, 500, 1,000 people in these events. And she talked about then about how it took her 17 years from the moment she started doing kind of public speaking and her podcast. And she also showed a photo of this one podcast episode that she recorded. She's literally under a blanket in a bed. And she's like, that's how she recorded her podcast because it was too echoey and like too much noise in some of the places she was recording. She just did it. Like, put a blanket over yourself, lay in bed, make the podcast, like write the book, whatever it is. But she's like, in this graph, she showed where she started. And it's like this halfway point, right? In someone's lifespan. And it showed like the 17 years then that she has now had. And it went into this whole discussion of when is it too late? When is it too late to start working out? When is it too late to write the book? When is it too late to start that business? And the whole point was like, never. It's never too late because you could do it literally midway through your life. And to your point there's plenty of amazing, huge names that have started their businesses 50, 60 years old, and they grew that success for themselves. And they did it because they realized it's never too late to do it. Yeah. And Mel Robbins, the whole point was her then saying, you know, the hard part is that it takes time. You're not just going to suddenly tell yourself, I'm going to be a 5 a.m. morning wake up person. And the first time you set your alarm at 5 a.m., you're just going to jump out of bed. No, like it takes time to literally build the routines and it sucks. Building a business is not for the weak. It simply is not. And it's taken her 17 years to now be on stage, have this book published, doing all these things, having her podcast be one of the top podcasts. And it was very inspirational as someone who is 28 and tends to sometimes forget, like, I'm literally only 28. That's why Kenneth and I are even moving in 5 months because we're literally only 28, 30 years old, where there's still so much life ahead of us. Why not try it? Is it ever too late to pick up and move? No. Is it ever too late to start this? No, because there's so much life ahead of you. But if you get stuck in comparison, then you get stuck there. You literally get paralysis, and then everyone else is building their dreams and their visions. And you're not. And that sucks. That sucks when that happens. So I wanted just to add that little thing because it was a very powerful, event. And I think everyone should go read the Let Them book as well. That'll help you with comparison.
Yeah. She also, fun fact, was 41.
She's so.
I had to look that up. I was like, look at
Thank you. So, I know. I was like, I should have looked up Mel Robbins' age. Sorry, Mel. Not that you're ever going to listen to this.
I don't know how old she actually is now, but let's see. Look at me doing my research during this. Wait, is she related? Is Tony Robbins her husband?
No.
Okay. I was like, so yeah.
You actually want to know? Like, Christopher Robbins is her.
Oh, Christopher Robbins.
Yes. Is her husband's name. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, she's 56. She's actually like 2 months older than my dad.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's crazy. Like when you really start to think about that. Like I know even my husband, which he probably will hate me if he knows I'm talking about this, but good thing he doesn't listen to the podcast. His industry he's in mortgages, and it's definitely more of an older population, and it's very easy for him to just get like stuck in like, oh, this person's here and this person's here and they built this book of business, but like there's not a lot of people who started their career in mortgages at 26. It's like kind of like a second career for a lot of people. And so, or maybe he was 25. I don't know. It was during COVID. He literally took his test during the summer of COVID, and just decided to start at the worst possible time. So it's really easy to get stuck in that headspace, but just remembering like, you know, if you're starting a career, if you're starting a business in your 20s, you're already ahead of so many people if you just fucking stick to it.
100%. So the point is just go do it. Just go do the thing. Do the damn thing. Literally like,
do it. that like he had like his panic. Do
Yes.
it. That was during COVID, I think too. I don't know. Wild.
But genuinely, just do the thing, guys. And as always, we'll put our information in the show notes. If you want to come shoot us a DM, talk about this, have a discussion about comparison, whatever it is that's kind of going through your head, like there is a community out there for you who will hear you and support you through it if that is the thing that continuously stops you from doing the thing. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yes. Also, one last thing, if you're still listening, if you didn't pop off, we have the waitlist open for our next cohort, which we will be announcing the start date here soon. So you can also join that in the show notes as well. Hop on the waitlist and you'll be the first to know when we open up spots.
Amazing. All right,
Bye,
guys. See you
guys.
next time.